All right, guys, the trade deadline has come and gone. And I think we have to start with the trade that wasn't, because Giannis Antetokounmpo, as of Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, is still a member of the Milwaukee Bucks. Grant, I want to start with you on this one. Like, how surprised are you that Giannis is still in Milwaukee?
0. Is that, or what is there going by percentage? 0%. No, I'll put it this way. The teams I've talked to, sources I've spoken with, they don't think the Bucks are ever very serious about moving him. I think they are just kind of gauging what's out there, trying to see what's going on, trying to get a sense of how serious Giannis was about this, kind of testing the waters all the way around for if they have to do something in the offseason. I think deep down, they still think they can convince Giannis to stay. I think they have some assets that are going to free up. They have 3 firsts technically in the offseason, and we don't know how good this first is that's going to be in 2026. So they're looking at it like, hey, let's just hold on. We'll see. We'll have optionality in the summer to do all these things. And to be honest, all these teams got aggressive, and Milwaukee didn't fully respond to them. They kind of left them in the dark and just said, hey, keep trying. And so again, it's a bummer for NBA fans that really wanted some action. And for me, I look at it and I just say, I wish something happened, because I want to see Giannis be part of something, like whether it be in Milwaukee or somebody else. But he's also hurt. He's also hurt. So, was he going to be a real contender with a team this year? Calf injuries scare me, Kurt. Yeah. They scare me.
And now you've got an excuse to keep him out for the rest of the season. But it was a concern. If you know how competitive Giannis is. If he goes to another team, if he goes to Miami or wherever, Minnesota, he would have pushed his way back and put himself at risk like he did with the last calf injury or something worse, right? He would have put himself at risk. He really wanted to be there. I keep hearing what you sort of heard, which was they don't really want to trade him, and they are hoping for some lottery luck. They've got the picks this summer. They want to find a way to go get not just maybe Ja, but go get somebody something and say, hey, and present it to him. Say, Giannis, here's this. We can put this team together if you stay, and we can compete in the East. I don't know if that deal is out there. I don't know if he'd sign it, but I think that's what they prefer.
Unless someone could give them exactly what they were looking for, which was the combination of young players and draft picks, it made no sense to do a deal right now. No. Unless someone could come to the table. I know they like Jaden McDaniels a lot. They would have taken Tyler Hero, I believe, from Miami. Golden State didn't really have anything when it came to players that they wanted.
Kuminga, man.
Jonathan Kuminga, yes. the end of an era in Golden State. But unless someone could give you that package, it never made any sense to do this just to relieve the pressure. I could never understand anyone that kind of thought that was going to be the case, because these offers that are on the table right now, they're still going to be there. Like, Miami's not giving up at the end of this.
Got more picks.
Well, that's the thing. Like, there's going to be more. Like, the New York Knicks had no chance, and they knew it. But this summer, they might have a chance. More first-round draft picks. Maybe Giannis tries to push in that direction. Same thing with the Lakers.
Yeah.
Hey, how about like an Austin Reeves sign-and-trade situation with multiple first-round draft picks? That could be an intriguing offer. There's just a lot more that the Bucks can do. And when you have a generational talent, you can't pull a Mavericks here. You can't trade Luka for 1 first-round pick and 1 aging, battered marquee player.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. I think the only way it would have happened this deadline is if Giannis actually pushed to get out. That was literally the only way this was going to happen, because he could have said, hey, unless you trade me right now, I'm not, he could have put some threat about money and extensions and all these different things. So really, and because he didn't, you were right. It wasn't going to change. And in terms of offers on the table, maybe the Bucks were intrigued to see if, because they put it out there, maybe Sixers come through and say, hey, here's VJ Edgecombe and something. They can at least put it out there, dangle it. But how about this? We're talking about those teams that are going to add first. But what if we go through the season and the Spurs, the Thunder, Detroit,
Rockets,
and all these teams go, you know what? I just experienced my team through the rest of the season. I experienced my team in the postseason. And one of those teams goes, you know what? I'm not able to cut it against the rest of the league right now. Well, hey, here's Giannis. Yeah. So if I'm the Bucks, I wait till the offseason. What are we talking about? And as you said, where were the Warriors offer, where's it going to go? Like, it's
still there.
were they going to flip it for who else? Yeah. So yeah, it makes complete sense that he's still there. Again, I think just as a fan base, as everybody in the NBA that was just watching this, it's kind of a tease, but hey, it's just a little teaser for what's going to happen this offseason.
Yeah. And I think if you're Giannis, you're in a pretty good spot, right? Like, because now if you really want to go to New York, you can put your thumb on the scale and say, hey, look at this offer. This is much better than what you were getting. You can get where you want to go, I think, with better offers.
Don't you think
Miami,
they were always,
wherever.
weren't they always like playing off of Giannis's, scoreboard there? Like they weren't trying to deal him to Memphis. Like they were always looking at places that he would be motivated to go.
The other thing you mentioned, the pressure. The pressure sounds great when 3 national writers are sitting around talking. In Milwaukee, there was no pressure. The fan base still loves him. There was no pressure internally to make that move.
Yeah. And look, John Horst is not going to spend the next 2 months thinking about where he's going to trade him. He's going to spend the next 2 months thinking about what he can get to not trade him.
Yep.
And if you've got 3 first-round draft picks, some movable contracts there, contracts to get 1 year shorter, in case like Kyle Kuzma, maybe you can find that one piece that's like Drew Holiday, it's like Damian Lillard, that makes him say, all right, I think you've done enough. And you're still in the Eastern Conference, which is still the conference to be in if you want to get out of and get to the finals. So we'll see. All right, guys, we had a couple of shockers before the trade deadline. I want to talk about the one that involves Anthony Davis and the Washington Wizards. If you had Anthony Davis going to the Wizards on your chessboard coming into this trade deadline, you are a smarter man than I. But Anthony Davis gets traded to the Wizards in a multiplayer deal that involves no real players of consequence besides Anthony Davis, and 2 first-round draft picks going to the Dallas Mavericks. The 2 first-round draft picks, Grant, not the greatest picks either. Like everybody sees Golden State pick into the future, but it's a protected pick a few years from now. I looked at this as the Washington Wizards got a free player. They got Anthony Davis for nothing. What did you think?
Yeah, it was essentially a salary dump, right? Because they also attached D'Angelo Russell's contract. They attached Jaden Hardy.
Right.
It was a salary dump. Now, did they get some assets back? Yeah, I mean, listen, I love when people say, like, in the trade deadline, they want a first-round pick. There are so many levels to first-round picks. There's the unprotected variety, which is the best thing you can possibly get. Or there's the part where you're going to get a pick in the 20s that's essentially sometimes even worse than a pick in the low 30s because you now have to force a payment on a first-round value as opposed to a second-round value where you get to kind of be a little bit more creative. But let's say they got 5 back-end assets. Sure, that's actually okay for like trade value and stuff. If you ever want to throw something in and make something happen, that's fine. But really, essentially, this is a salary dump for the Dallas Mavericks. So what does this mean to me? What it means to me is they decided that the cloud, the dark cloud that was hanging over them and hanging over their Cooper Flag era needed to just be removed.
Yeah.
Because to me, you have to ask, why didn't they wait to the offseason then, in this case? Maybe a team does say, hey, now Anthony Davis is healthy. Now I can just kind of think about my team, and maybe I can build something, and maybe they could have done that, potentially. Again, there's a risk. There is, right? What if the Wizards aren't there for you at that point?
Which they couldn't have been. Like they couldn't have done those salary
exactly.
swaps.
No.
Yeah.
So what they could have done instead is, if it was during the season, they could have taken back some bad money and probably get a little better assets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So at the end of the day, they remove all this salary and say, let's start this era, the Cooper Flag era. Now let's get a great pick. Let's get off of this and move on. It's not a win for anybody. No. It is just a...
Come on, that's a win for the Wizards.
Oh, no, sure.
all right.
Sure, but we don't know how it'll turn out, right? In a few years, we'll find out if it was a win for the Wizards.
I don't think the Wizards care. Like, I don't think the Wizards are looking at this team and saying, we got AD, Trae Young, young players. We're going to win the East next year. Yep. They're looking at this, and you know this from working in a front office. Like, they have so many young guys that have played horrible basketball, like with horrible teams over the last couple of years. Now they can put Bilal, Alex Sarr, whoever they get, when they're definitely keeping that top 8 protected pick, or they do everything they can. Whoever they get with that top 8 pick, and they can plant them with winning basketball. If AD's healthy, if Trae Young's healthy, you're probably a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference. Like, they're looking at like 2028 is when they're going to be ready to take off, and they're hoping that these guys help them get there.
Yeah, and just quickly, also, if you think about it, look what the Nets did with Michael Porter Jr., right? They take him in, and then they just boost up his value so much. They could have moved him potentially. But it's the same world for the Wizards as well. Like, they hope that they can get a slightly motivated Anthony Davis, but again, you have to start wondering these questions.
I don't think he's motivated at the moment.
Yeah,
I don't think Anthony Davis is too enthused about being a Washington Wizard.
But do you know how to dangle a carrot is to say, hey, do you want that extension coming up? Start being motivated, right? So again, I personally don't believe it's necessarily a win for anybody. I think in a few years we'll look back. Sometimes a deal happens and you're like, that's a win. Like, that team just, no matter what's going to win off this one. This one to me is just like let's wait and see.
I like that the Wizards have become the home of the distressed asset, right? Like, they're just Trae Young, which you got for matching salary, and Corey Kispert. You just this trade where they don't really give up a meaningful first. They don't, the Thunder's 30th pick and another one that's going to convert to a second. You don't give up anything. You get Anthony Davis in there, and as long as they don't extend him, or maybe 1 year, but even then I'm kind of hesitant. If you don't extend him, you, like you said, light a fire on him. Like, you want the extension, you got to play for that extension. We'll get you somewhere that'll extend you. And you start to look down the line, and like you said, you start to win a few games. Their guys start to play for something meaningful. The whole thing just feels better than it did. You can only be bad for so long before the fan base starts to turn on you, Utah. So, like, they'd reached that point where they needed to do something. I think this was for what they did, I think this was great for the Wizards. I think this was not great, but it was a win for them because they didn't give up
nothing.
Anything.
They gave up nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. What they did was take the bad salaries that the Mavericks didn't want anymore, to your point.
Yeah.
They also dressed up the draft picks. Like, you can say you got, like, 4 or 5 seconds were thrown in there. They can get 4 or 5 draft picks out of the deal, but they gave up nothing. They made it clear, obviously, from the opening moment of those talks, whenever they took place, that they weren't giving up any of their good young players, and they weren't giving up any of their good draft picks. But if you still want to do a deal, Dallas, here we are. This is my problem with the Mavericks, though. Like, this is just nothing. This is just, you got nothing for Anthony Davis. Your final haul for Luka Doncic, to bring it full circle, is basically 3 first-round draft picks. That's
and Max Christie.
And Max Christie, fine. Max Christie.
Hey, he's having a great season. I love Max Christie.
I love Max Christie too. Good player, but Max Christie.
3 first, 3 seconds.
Forget the seconds. I'm not jumping on the second train there. Okay, I'm sure that, every so often you get a second-round pick that hits, but they got 3 first-round picks, 2 of which are mediocre at best. One, like, I don't know what the Laker picks are going to look like down the line. There might be 3 picks that are in the 20s for Luka Doncic at the end, and they do this deal. I understand it. There was no market for Anthony Davis for the trade deadline, none whatsoever. Not even a little. There was like no market. I don't think even the Wizards went into the week thinking, I'm going to go get Anthony Davis. I don't think that was on their minds. So you do this deal if you're Dallas, and you're just offloading this guy and saying, we got to wash our hands of everything that happened there. And that's tough, man. That's tough. I might have just brought him back and said, let's see if we can rehab your image in the first quarter of next season, and maybe we can get a better deal.
Okay, so I totally understand when you look at it at the accumulation of everything, right? You look at it with Luka was for this, right? But this isn't Nico Harrison making this move.
I get it
now, okay? And that's why I'm not gonna connect the two. Now, I do understand the owner and everybody, and there's a lot of people that are associated with that trade, but like the people that eventually had to get out of this moment, right? The guys that are calling some of the shots there right now, they also just realized, like,
For now.
Yeah, no, we'll see how it turns out. But they can't be thinking, oh, we better hold on to him and just in case, because of what it's going to look like because of Luka. Like, at some point, you just got to say, hey, God, this was a royal F up, like a royal one. So how do we not save face? How do we salvage anything we can about this situation right now? Do you consider this a salvage? To some, no. But to others, you might say, hey, look, maybe.
What does that pie chart look like? 99% of some no, 1% of others.
Like, would you rather take back bad money and get a good first?
If you want to clean your books up, which was obviously part of the case, then you did that. Mission accomplished.
This wasn't eat your vegetables trade, right? Like, this was, This wasn't good, but we want to do it so we can wipe the slate clean and just we can spin. Now we can fully focus on building around Cooper Flag. That is the spin, and to a degree, the reality, right? Like it's all Cooper now.
Can we also just really think about this though? If that lottery ball didn't hit number 1 for Cooper Flag, now envision that, right? The only reason
They
we're
had the
talking
12th
about,
pick or whatever it would have been.
Talk about how we're talking about salvaging the situation, right? If that lottery ball doesn't hit number 1, I don't even know how to even express how bad.
I don't think they could have traded him at that point.
I don't know.
If you couldn't have traded him for that package.
No, I don't think you can do anything at that point.
No.
So yeah, so let's it's NBA. It's a fickle business. It's a fickle business. A year ago, you were in NBA finals or whatever 2 years ago, and now it's a crazy business.
Anthony Davis and Trae Young are Washington Wizards. How about that? All right, so one of the other blockbusters of the week was the Utah Jazz not trading away a big-name player, but acquiring a big-name player, acquiring Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Memphis Grizzlies. A bunch of players changed hands, but really it was about the 3 first-round draft picks that they send Memphis back for Jaren Jackson Jr. The Grizzlies now stockpiling picks over the next 7 years, 12, 13 first-round draft picks that they can have. But it's the Jazz getting Jaren Jackson Jr. under a long-term contract to pair next to Lauri Markkanen, to pair next to Keontae George. Grant, do you like that deal for the Jazz?
So, number one, I love how aggressive they are right now. I think they saw an opportunity, and right now they said, hey, we've been stockpiling all these picks. We've been doing all these things. Keontae George took a leap that no one expected. Probably most of the people there did not expect. They've been holding on to Lowry, saying, no, we're going to wait till our time is right. And they actually held to their word. So I have to give the Jazz credit. I was there as a courtside reporter a couple weeks ago, and this is before the Jaren trade, and I came away really impressed with their group over there. I think they are building something there, and I really like their front office. Their owner, Ryan Smith, is incredibly involved and doing great things in Salt Lake City. I really, really like their coach and Will Hardy. And their development, the way they've been doing things, you can tell something was building. Now, when I was there, the talk was, we're going to have all this cap space in free agency. Well, what do? They do pre-agency, right? They go out and get Jaren Jackson Jr. The other part about this that everyone needs to realize, the Jazz really like Walker Kessler. Yeah. And there is not this feeling that, hey, now we got Jaren, now we have Lowry, and we're good in the front court. Because if that's the case, that is probably one of the worst rebounding front courts in the history of the NBA. Instead, they bring in and they hope to re-sign Walker Kessler and say, this is our squad. Let's roll with it. They also love Ace Bailey there. And to his credit, Ace Bailey has not been what everyone said he was in the draft and all these stuff that actually wasn't his fault about what people were saying about Ace Bailey. He has been there. He is trying to learn. He's trying to be better. He's doing everything the best he can. He is following everything that they've been asking him to do. And his shot diet has changed this year, and he's trying to be the best version of himself. So these are all young players that they have. Lowry's the old vet, right? And he's in his late 20s. I'm excited for them. Do I think this team is now the contender next year? No, necessarily. I think they could be really good. But I do think they're on the right track, and I love a team that is aggressive at the right time, and I think right now is the right time.
If you're Utah and you have all that cap space theoretically coming up this summer, you're still Utah. Like, that is a hard place to get free agents to go to. Yeah, money talks, right? Like, it's still a business, but this was a much better move. Like you said, he's under contract through 2030, I believe. But like, he's 4 or 5 years out, just started this new deal.
You've got him started yet, right? I think next year.
Is it next year? Is it next year? Okay. So he's locked in. You can keep him. You can keep this core together. And I'd heard the same thing. Kessler, they like, and they need somebody to do the dirty work. He's been injured all year. He's not going to be back because of his shoulder, right? If I remember right. It's a deal now you can get him at a discount. You're going to be able to sign him off of his rookie deal for 3 years or whatever it is at a lower figure than if he had played. And suddenly you've put him at the 5. I mean, you move Laurie to the 3, and we can debate how that works. But like, you've suddenly got a front court that can do a lot of damage. George has been fantastic. Bailey's getting his legs under him. Great on the wing. You're going to have another high draft pick this year. Hopefully, the lottery gods were not kind to them that last year. We'll see if it's kinder this year. And suddenly you have got something. You've got something real there. Like you said, they're not beating the Thunder next year in a 7-game series, but they're walking it down. They're moving up that ladder.
I think it's a really good deal for all the reasons you guys articulated. They weren't getting a Jaren Jackson level player in free agency. They're basically just going to next year. It's like you signed him to a 3+1. Like that, it's a great deal. They are 30th right now in defensive efficiency, 29th in defending the rim. Jaren Jackson solves a lot of those problems. I'm curious about a couple of things. I am not here for the let's put Lauri Markkanen back at small forward game. Like I don't know how he did it in Cleveland, fine, but he flourished in Utah playing 4. Like he is a 7-footer. And yes, to me, he's got the offensive game of a small forward, but defensively, that's challenging. So I wonder how that's going to work, especially when they're going to have to pay Walker Kessler this summer. Like he's a restricted free agent. If they don't pay him outright, someone's going to make him an offer. Someone's going to go big on Walker Kessler. He was a double-double guy last year, led the NBA in offensive rebounds. He's legit when it comes to that at the floor. They're also going to have to pay Keontae George. Like Keontae George's contract extension talks are coming up. Like what's his number on this one? Like he's played like a max guy this season, but I'd be really scared about giving him that kind of contract. So my concern would be like, I like the talent they have now, but you're tying a lot of money to Kessler. Markkanen and Jackson alone are like $90+ million. Keontae on a new deal. Are you putting together a team that's really good but has a shorter ceiling than some of the top tier teams in the Western Conference?
I'm going to throw something out there that, I'm just this is speculation. All right. This is speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised if Keontae's not necessarily part of that plan as of now. I think Keontae's been great. I'm just saying that they have to figure out what type of point guard and what type of guard system and everything that they're building out in that system. If they get a very high draft pick, if they have a Keontae George, they have they have all these pieces, it depends on how much they want to go for it right now, right? Because they do have plenty of ways to upgrade their team and go get a big fish again if they wanted to, right? Then you have to start talking about the aprons and all that. But I'm just saying, like, the optionality is there. That is the buzzword that I want everyone to. Flexibility, optionality. That's all that matters nowadays in the NBA, and that's what you've seen with teams like the Thunder, et cetera, as they build out their teams. Optionality. So, again, I am not saying that they are going to trade Keontae George. What I am saying is that they have options now, and the one thing they also know they have is they have some serious talent, and they have a serious coach, and they have a team that is committed to winning, and they have a fan base that is starving for something like this. I'm excited for Utah.
No, I think that they're, like I said, the optionality is especially if you draft somebody like AJ or somebody that's got to figure that front court, Peterson. Yeah. Either way, maybe you want to go get a true point guard, a Fred VanVleet style of ball distributor and defender, as opposed to a guy who's going to rack up points. If you want to move on from George, there will be plenty of takers at a very high price. Like like you said, you've just got a lot of options. However you choose to go forward.
I'd also again, I would have done the same deal if I was Austin Ainge. And you're not exactly on 2 timelines, but Markkanen is 28. Jaren Jackson is 26. These are prime guys. Ace Bailey, is he still a teenager or did he just turn 20? He's right,
20 maybe.
Right there. You're talking about maybe bringing another teenager next year. These are guys that are going to need 2 or 3 years to get to the level that they're going at. Are you still having Markkanen around making $50+ million in 3 years? Jaren Jackson, how does that work? I mean, Kessler's more on the younger side. I would have done the same thing. 3 first-round picks means nothing to Utah, especially I think 2 of them are in this next, or the 27 draft, which allegedly is not very good, though I don't know what any of that means. I think it's a good, but a move with some questions attached to it at the very end. They certainly need to find some rebounding. I agree with you there. Like Markkanen, Jackson, we know Jackson can't play the 5. We know he's not a 5. He's not a rebounding 4. He's a shot-blocking, versatile defending, good shooting. Like, they can be really diverse offensively. But there's definitely some questions left over in Utah.
There are definitely some questions. And to wrap us up also, just as you said, you can start a game with Lauri at the 3 or whatever, but that doesn't mean you finish every game with that too.
Finish. I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
Hey, I got it. No, so like that is one thing. Also, as you were saying, Like, you have Lowry, you have Jaren Jackson. Those guys are great playing off of a distributing point guard. Obviously, Keontae's different than that. So these are question marks that they're going to have to. And I love the point you just brought up. The two timeline thing hasn't really played out well for some franchises. And sometimes if you just say, hey, let's start competing, you got to speed up the timeline just a little bit. So
26, 28 is not old if the rest of your team is 24, 25, 26. If they're 19, 20, then maybe you're having a different conversation. All right, so the Boston Celtics, who I think are the most intriguing team in the Eastern Conference playoff race, given the variance that their team could have before the end of the season. They made a big move before the deadline. They go out and they swap Anthony Simons for Nikola Vucevic. Now, Vucevic is 35 years old. He's not the all-star caliber player that he once was. But I'm looking at him, guys, and I'm seeing a three-point shooting big man going to a team that, A, shoots a lot of threes, and B, could use a damn big man in that front court. So, Grant, I thought this was a really good move by the Celtics. Like, Simons had a good season, but they weren't going to bring him back, and they don't really need a smallish guard as part of that rotation. I love the move for Boston.
I love it. You look at their season. They came into the year being like, oh, we're not going to really be competing that much. Let's save some money. Let's revisit this when Tatum comes back, et cetera. And then all of a sudden, the coaching staff and Jaylen Brown and everyone has put together such an incredible season for for a wide open East. And they're playing such good basketball. And so you make a move in which you get a guy that really helps your team. You save a lot of money, again, without giving up much. Anthony Simons, while he was, having a nice season, they've been using him. That was going to be the salary piece that's being moved. Sometimes you look at a move and just say, hey, that's a good move. It's a low risk, not much else to be said about it. I think it is a good move for a team that has surprised many people. And if Jason Tatum were to come back this year, and obviously I know there's some question marks about that, and I just hope they make the smart decision with that one. I don't do anything that could risk someone's career. The Boston Celtics they're just, you watch them play basketball and you're like, they play inspired basketball, and they have a guy in Vucevic who's been craving playing inspired basketball. I'm happy for them. I think it's a good move.
I thought they were going to stealth tank this year and the way you do it is you just don't have great big men. Kata's been great. Luka Garza has been better than I ever expected him to be as a pro. Like, they have played their way in because of those guys, but they needed frontline help. Like you said, they get shooting. This isn't going to be a great defensive pickup, but
hey, neither was Simons, though.
No, exactly. The defense isn't getting worse, and you pick up a really skilled offensive player. He can pass. He can shoot from all over the floor. He's a high IQ guy. This is a really great pickup for them. Whatever happens with Tatum, this is a great pickup because they look like a team that can make a little run in the East, as is.
It's also another expiring contract, so it's not like they're tacking on extra years. Even though I think, and I saw Vucevic do an interview recently where he talked about how the next phase of his career is going to be as a bench player. He understands the evolution that's coming. And you're also talking about a guy in Vucevic who, to my knowledge, has never played a meaningful postseason game ever. He's got a dozen or so playoff games on his resume. Didn't get far in Orlando, was a play-in guy in Chicago. Hey, maybe Boston's got some juice. Maybe being with the Celtics this year is something that he wants. It's going to bring some more out of him. Maybe next year he wants to come back and be part of what they're doing in their kind of Al Horfordy role. Yep. Take a short-term contract, less money to be a guy, a rotation player with that team. I just think it makes a lot of sense for them to add a player who can do the things that he can do offensively. And all you're talking about is him maybe taking some of Luka Garza's minutes, maybe supplanting Neemias Queta in kind of as an offense-defense type of role. I love the deal for Boston. I think the Celtics, too, I don't think they're finished yet. They've made a bunch of deals to open up some roster spots. They trade away Chris Boucher. They trade away Josh Minot. Just before we started recording this, at the wire, they trade Xavier Tillman to Charlotte. They're now under the luxury tax, so they're kind of where they want to be there. But they're also in a position to go out there and get one of those buyout guys that could be on the market. We know Lonzo Ball, likely going to be available. Haywood Highsmith, maybe he's available. Gabe Vincent, maybe he's available. They need kind of a big defensive-minded guard. And Grant, there are some guys out there that fit that bill.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, by the time we're done recording this, we don't know where it's going to be, but how about Mike Conley or there's
Mike Conley. Mike Conley's going back to Minnesota. This was and I texted you guys this. This was as soon as he was traded, I had people in the league telling me he's getting traded again because he can go back to
Yep.
Minnesota.
Yeah, it
Maybe
was
it
like-
doesn't turn out that way, but the fact that people in the league knew this was going to happen.
Everyone was talking about it the minute it happened. It's like, is that cap circumvention if everyone knows it? I don't know. It's almost like it's not cap circumvention if everyone's like, oh, no, this is happening. It's like, it's actually like, hey, good job.
Yeah.
But to your point, they are set up to really test some people in the East. And I would love, if you play the Boston Celtics with Vucevic now, and if they're relatively healthy going in, you're going to get a dogfight the whole way. And so I don't care which team you're matched up against. The Boston Celtics are going to make it hard on you. And again, there are moves that you say, what if this? What if this? This to me is just the most low risk, save some money move. Good for the Boston Celtics. Vucevic, good job.
Yeah. Nobody in the East scares Boston. Nobody should. They are going to be able to, like you said, at least threaten and push anybody they play. This was smart. This was a really smart move, and Vucevic gets to play some meaningful minutes in a big playoff game. That'll be fun to see.
I wonder, and I don't think the Celtics do this deal with Tatum in mind, but does this increase the chances that he's going to come back? Look, Tatum's doing his own thing, and I've reported in the past, like at this point, it's a mental thing for Jason Tatum. Like I think physically, he's almost all the way there, maybe a couple more boxes to check, but mentally, are you ready to step back onto the court in the middle of a playoff race and potentially in the postseason 10 months after the most significant injury an NBA player can have? So I think that's still an open question. But now you've got another big man to fill a role that you need. Now, if you can come back and give this team 15 to 20 minutes per game coming off the bench in that same kind of role Anthony Simons had, but you're a better version of him, I think it's now interesting. I think it makes it even more interesting to see what happens with Jason Tatum.
I was talking to a former player, and he was saying the one thing he's worried about with Jason Tatum coming back is, confidence and everything like that. It plays a factor for these stars, right, as they get on the court. And you don't want to mess with somebody's confidence when they're on the court, and you don't know how it can affect a team when you have a guy who's working through things mentally while he's on the court and trying to figure out his own career at the same time. So if he does come back, you just gotta really, really, really check all the boxes that it makes sense for everyone involved. Because again, there's just too many risks. I hope he comes back and it's fun and it's great and he's the same guy, but it's hard to change the role that you're in for your whole career. You've been one guy, and then to come back into a team that's playing a certain way and be a different role than you're necessarily used to, or a lesser version of the role that you are expected to be. So I want to pause the push the brakes a little bit on the fact that just him coming back makes everything better. I think there are risks involved, but all I'll say is I've just been so impressed with the Boston Celtics, and I want to see them succeed this year.
I don't think he comes back. That's really the concern, right? Jaylen Brown has kind of stepped into the number one role. Even if Tatum says he's coming back as a number two, it just seems weird and awkward and a little uncomfortable when you don't necessarily need to do that. I mean, maybe they want to, maybe he feels right, maybe this all clicks, but like you said, I think it's more mental than physical, not just with him, but how you're going to mesh this whole thing back together.
He said that on a podcast. I don't think it's that. I don't think he's too worried about how he's going to fit in with this team. I think it's, can I be Jason Tatum when I get back out there? And look, I look at this as being like March 1st is kind of the drop dead date. There's got to be a ramp up. You can't just drop him in 2 weeks before the start of the postseason and say, here we go, first round series, we're going to play the Knicks or whoever. The Knicks, of course. Let's go back to Madison Square Garden where it all happened, and let's do this. I think there's got to be at least a month, maybe a month and a half to get him out there, get him comfortable, and then you can go into the postseason. But the Vucevic trade made the Celtics a lot more interesting. They are much more of a threat to win the East today than I thought they were earlier in the week. All right, so early in the week, we had a swap of former All-Star guards. James Harden, 36 years old, headed to Cleveland. Darius Garland, 26 years old, headed to the LA Clippers. It's a fascinating deal for a lot of reasons. To me, it symbolized the Cavaliers just pushing their chips in. You know what? We're terrified Donovan Mitchell's going to say no to a contract extension. We got to go better than the second round of the playoffs, deeper than the second round of the playoffs. James Harden is the ultimate wild card, but we think he is someone that can get us there more than Darius Garland can. And for the Clippers, when you're 17-4 over the last 21 with James Harden in the lineup, you're all of a sudden saying, you know what, we're going to go in a different direction. And as we'll get to in a little bit, we're going to start the reboot process of this team. So, Grant, what did you think of this trade from both sides?
This one is just such an interesting trade. It's very rare that you have two guys that are really good players to be that big of an age difference that are just being straight up traded for each other. And they play the same position. So it is just a rare trade. You know, for me, I think it was an actual no-brainer for the Clippers, personally. I understand why some people are down about Darius Garland for a multitude of reasons, but I don't think the fit with him in Cleveland was right. And so if you're the Clippers, you're taking a guy who's a two-time All-Star who's still young, and like what are the chances the Clippers were able to do something like this without picks and all that? So I actually like the move for them, and I think it's worth working with Ty Lue and trying to bring out the most out of Darius Garland. I think it's absolutely worth the flyer. For James Harden and the Cavs, if it's purely just trying to make Donovan Mitchell happy, I get it. You got to do what you got to do. Do I worry about the fit? Yeah, it's a little awkward fit to me. But you know, James Harden is best with the balls in hand, and I know people are going to talk about the stagger, and so when Mitchell's off the court, Harden can do his thing, and they're right. They're right. That will work. But I would say, you know, for a lot of the game, they play together out there, and I do worry about that. I did really like their move of Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder. I personally thought that was a very smart move. You got to just lengthen your rotation. You cannot be too starter heavy. And I think they did a really good job of bringing some pieces that can really help them win. The Harden one, again, it's a hard fit for me. And I'm not going to sit here and say I know what's going to happen, and I'm not going to sit here and say that's a bad move or a good move. And I know that's just the easy way out. It is a very much a wait and see type move. For people that are like, oh, this is a great move to solidify for the playoffs, then you just have not been watching James Harden in his career. So again, it's more of a wait and see. Can he be the third or fourth guy on this team and be that guy? That'd be great. But in his career, he needs that ball in his hand. So it's gonna be interesting. Let's say.
Kenny Atkinson was pretty honest about this last night when he was talking with us about this trade. He was, he loved Darius Garland personally. Like, that was one of his all-time favorite players who's now gone. So that was emotional for him. And he was upfront. He's like, we're going to be very different. Harden doesn't play fast. The Cavs like to get out and run. They had that youth. They would want to get out and move. That's not the way Harden plays. And now you've got him dominating the ball. He is a great passer. It's actually going to be great for like Jared Allen and Evan Mobley when he comes back. It'll be good for them, but they're realizing that this is not going to look the same, that what they've been doing doesn't work. He was talking about going back and talking to Mike D'Antoni, who was Harden's coach in Houston. Hey, how did you use him? How did we set this up? How did you get other guys involved? How do we make this work? He's trying to find a way, but it's going to be radically different for them. And to your point, you get to the playoffs, yeah, you can stagger them, but they're going to play 30 minutes a game together, give or take. Like, they're going to spend a lot of time on the court together, and it's going to be they've got time to work it out, but it's just not a natural fit, and I'm not convinced. And that's not even counting the 2 games in the series James Harden is not going to show up for.
I think Garland's health played a lot into this. He missed the first 6 games of the season coming off the toe surgery. He's missed the last, whatever it is, mid-January with another toe injury. Since he's been back, he has not been the player we saw last year, only about 18 points per game, as there's been a ramp-up for him trying to get him all the way back. I think there, understandably, was concern in that Cavaliers front office about whether or not he'd even be available in the playoffs. And if he's not available, you're not beating anybody in the playoffs. So they went out there and were looking for upgrades. Harden is the ultimate wild card, right? And if I'm Kenny Atkinson, the first thing I'm looking at is that minutes number on Harden and the games played number on Harden. Because among the reasons that he flames out in the postseason is he's gassed. His gas tank goes to empty. And this season with the Clippers, he was playing the most minutes per game of any season with the Clippers. Any of the 3 seasons that he's played there. You've got to ramp him back. You've got to keep him at around 30 minutes. And they've done this, right, with Donovan Mitchell last year, and they've been pretty good at keeping the workload light enough on their guys. But no back-to-backs for James Harden. Keep that minutes load down. Don't go out there. I mean, last year they went for the number 1 seed. And they were just going all out, trying to win every possible game. You've got to rein it in a little bit with James Harden if you're going to hope to get the very best out of him. But I do agree that like the Cavs have just the kind of big men that should play exceptionally well next to James Harden. Like, it's no secret, or I don't think it's a coincidence that Joel Embiid won MVP while James Harden was on the team. Clint Capella had great years with James Harden in Houston. Zubac became a star last year, one of the best players at his position with James Harden down there in LA. I think he maximizes the potential of young athletic bigs, and the Cavs got 2 of them. So it's a big swing because Harden does not have the greatest history in the postseason, but I think they're better today with Harden than they were a week ago with Darius Garland.
Okay, guys. Harden partially wanted this because the Clippers were not thrilled about extending him. In fact, he's only 13.3 guaranteed next year. I'm sure they picked that up in Cleveland.
I think there's probably a wink, nod.
Yeah.
Like, hey, yeah.
How long are you willing to give him? Maybe a couple of years. Like, are you willing to extend him?
No. I would not. I'd pay him for next year. Like, look, you're all in with Mitchell now anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I would do it for next year, but like a 2-year or a 3-year deal. I don't know, but no, it's a hard pass for me.
Yeah, as long as this is just about next year, and then you can figure it out from there. But it's a risky play. It's a play they're going to make. You know, if it flames out really quickly or if things go south, that's a very bad thing for Donovan Mitchell there too. So it's a risk. It's a risk they're taking. Again, everything you guys said is spot on. It's a wild card. It could help these bigs. James Harden's gone close many times. Gone close. He ran into a Warriors team that was really good. Yep. He's gone close. That's not his fault that that they had one of the best teams of all time playing against him. When he's in the Western Conference Finals, those Nets teams, they were one toe away from Kevin Durant from being in the final. Like, he's gone close. So again, I don't want to always blame James Harden for some playoff issues, but there happens to always be this cloud around him, and it'll be interesting the way that they can make it work. So we'll see.
Yeah, that Philadelphia-Boston series, the last one for Harden and Philly, that sticks in my head. That was not a good James Harden series. No. All right, fellas, we covered the big deals that happened before the trade deadline, but how about some of the under-the-radar deals, the stuff that people aren't talking about on day one? Grant, what's the best under-the-radar deal that you saw before this deadline?
So I'm going to cheat here, and I'm going to mention 2.
Okay.
That's an automatic cheat.
Fair.
I'm the one starting it off, and I'm going to cheat here. But first of all, I do want to give some credit to Kobe White and the Hornets deal that they made, because the Hornets are one of the most fun teams to watch. If you haven't got a chance to watch the Hornets play offense, woo, that's fun. And B, they added a guy who's just really an underrated player that just is a very good offensive weapon, and they just added a guy. They pretty much upgraded what essentially is Colin Sexton to Kobe White. And while they get to, watch him and see what they want to do about him in his free agency, et cetera, at the same time, they're saying, hey, let's make a little run at this. Let's have some fun. Let's try to get into the play-in or the playoffs and see what we can do. So I think that's an under-radar move. But the reason I want to pivot to this other deal is because we're talking about a team that's contending, and that is Jose Alvarado to the New York Knicks. Jose Alvarado is criminally underrated in terms of just what he brings to a game. It's not even about stats. And actually, I think his stats are better than people have given him credit for in the past too. But what he brings to a team on the court, the energy, he is one of those guys. And I've said this about TJ McConnell in the past. One of those guys that when he enters the game, you feel him automatically. You just feel him. He's there, and he's going to make his presence felt. And I think the New York crowd is going to love him, and I think the team will love him. And I think he just brings an element of feistiness and temper and just up-tempo basketball that I think is going to play really well in New York. I think is an incredible, incredible trade. And I know I'm making it out to be a big deal because I do think it's a big deal. I think this is a team that can use that infusion of energy. And I think that one to me is the trade that people are going to look back in the playoffs and be like, man, Alvarado, ooh, he had that game.
Well, they need him to. Deuce McBride being
yes,
out.
Well, that's a key part, which, by the way,
yeah.
Interesting after the trade happens that we find out about Deuce McBride. But anyway, the point is that I really love that trade for the Knicks.
And it's a homecoming. He is a Queens kid who went to Christ the King's High School in New York. New York is going to love the New York hometown kid coming in and being, just like you said, the energy guy off the bench who just changes things. And the first time he makes one of those Grand Theft Alvarado steals in the backcourt for a bucket, Madison Square Garden's just going to go ballistic.
So give me your under the radar team.
It's kind of a big name in one sense, but I think it is Ivica Zubac because it's not a trade for this year. In fact, he may have a mysterious, is he going skiing this weekend? Is there anything we can do? Like, the Pacers need to keep that pick as high as they can. They got like the third worst record. You're not going to see a lot of Zubac this year. But he is a very good big on both ends of the floor in terms of finishing. We've said, James Harden made him look good. Tyrese Halliburton's going to make him look good. That is a good passer who plays with space, who finds the roll guy. And for Indiana, who struggled defensively even in the year they went to the finals, he is a huge upgrade over what Miles Turner brought over. They don't really have anybody like that now. Zubac is a very good defender, not going to get the stats, but he is kind of old school, like when Marc Gasol won Defensive Player of the Year. He is big. He knows how to be in the way. He uses that size to really clog up and not knock people out of the paint, but make you alter shots. That's going to be huge for them next year. Like, I really like that pickup for a Pacers team that we all kind of thought already was going to return to form next year.
Grant, before I move on to mine, what do you make of what the Clippers are getting out of these deals? We've seen them kind of reboot over the last 24 hours.
I think the Clippers made out great in that deal. And that's not to say that either team lost because of that. I think both teams won. I think both teams have other things that they need to take care of, and they did it in this deal. But those are very valuable picks.
Yeah.
Because either you're getting a pick that's a draft pick that's between 5 through 9 in a very good draft, or you're getting an incredibly valuable 2031 unprotected pick. Just a reminder for those fans that this front offices evaluate first-round picks based on unprotected or not unprotected, but also the further out you go, the variance makes it probably more likely that they're more valuable. So you're getting as far out as possible away from Tyrese Halliburton, away from his age, and you're trying to get away from the part where everyone's in their prime. This is a team that will get expensive too. So again, that's the way you value these things. I think the Clippers did a really, and by the way, whatever you think about Benedict Mathurin, whatever you like him or you don't like him, it's worth the flyer. Like, if you're doing this, you're getting those 2 picks, why not put a young player next to Darius Garland? Again, give Ty Lue an option. I love Ty Lue's ability to work with players like this. I think the Clippers did great. I think the Pacers did a really good job preparing for next year. I just like the trade.
I want to give the Clippers a little credit just because they looked at the West, they looked at who they had, even with this 17-5 run, and said, we're not winning this thing. Mm-hmm. Like, we are what we are.
James Harden also helped that along the way.
Yeah,
helped push that along.
It is. But even if they'd kept it all together, they knew what they were, they knew where they were going, and they realized if we can pivot now, if the deals are better to pivot now, why are we waiting? Yeah. What are we getting out of waiting? And so they moved.
And one quick thing also, the Clippers really started this run when Zubac was out, and Zubac was missing, and Brook Lopez steps in, and what they ended up doing is spreading the ball a little bit more, and they actually had to change the way they played when Kawhi and James were on the floor versus Zubac, and they had to play through Zubac when he was on versus off. I think this gives him more of a clear identity of like, hey, let's just spread this thing out and let's have some fun.
All right, my under-the-radar deal, and I can't believe this deal and how they pulled it off. Oklahoma City getting Jared McCain for like nothing. First-round pick, the 2026 Rockets first-round pick, 3 seconds, big deal. Getting another free player. Like, here's Jared McCain, who before the injury last season looked like a Rookie of the Year guy. Yeah. Had some injury issues at the start of this season. He is a 38% career three-point shooter. I think they could use something like that in Oklahoma City. They get another second-year guy, big guard wing type player that fits into what they do. How'd they pull that off? I had a bunch of GMs texting me like, what the hell? Like that's all they had to give up to get Jared McCain, 1 first-round pick? I understand Philly's got Quentin Grimes in that spot. Maybe you don't need Jared McCain long-term. I don't know. Whatever their reasoning was, but for Oklahoma City, that's a huge win. You get another, how old is he? He can't be more than 21, 22. I don't know how old he is. 6'3", combo guard for nothing. For nothing. You get him for nothing. It's unbelievable. They need a draft pick. They get him for absolutely nothing. That was a huge win for Oklahoma City.
And it's a huge win for their social media program.
Yeah, well, that's true. TikTok's about to. No, the thing that makes it to me the most shocking is that another team didn't want to do that. You know what I mean? That's what's a little bit more shocking, because this, call me crazy here, but if a fully healthy Thunder team is going into the playoffs, I don't know how much McCain is even playing.
True. He could be in those Aaron Wiggins types.
I would rather have Aaron Wiggins out there, because I just think I love Aaron Wiggins' game, and I think McCain's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but like his defensive deficiencies, and just he's still figuring out himself as he comes back from his injury. So this might be more of a next year play more than even it is a this year. Or if they're not healthy enough.
Always thinking the next 10
I know,
years. They're always thinking.
So no, I'm not.
He's the next AJ Mitchell.
I am not diminishing it. I'm just actually saying I think it's a good trade. But I'm just surprised that another team who needed something more like this didn't say, hey, like, I don't know, this like 26 Rockets pick is going to be a late 20s pick. Some seconds, like, hey, I get a guy on a rookie stale contract who
looked like the rookie of the year last
Yeah,
year.
I
For
mean,
the first 20 some odd games.
Front runner.
Yeah,
why not?
Why not do that? So again, I hear you completely. I think it's a very
And look, and they can turn around. Like Lou Dort's got a team option on his contract next year. You can pick up that option, trade him, and still have AJ Mitchell and now Jared McCain,
Isaiah Joe.
I mean, a whole bunch of guys. Like they used the word optionality in an earlier video. Like that's what they've got. Like you can just be like, what do we want to do with all these pieces? I think McCain has the potential to be a star. Like I loved what I saw from him last year. And you get him for one first-round pick that's probably going to be in the 20s. That is highway robbery. Highway robbery for a player like that. I'm telling you. Good job, Oklahoma City.
Hit subscribe for more news, highlights, and analysis from the NBA on NBC.